Greetings, everyone. I'm Mar. Once again, this is my opinion. Like Fascinating Debra, The Sitter is an episode that I usually skip when I'm watching episodes randomly. And sometimes I would skip it even when marathon watching the show. It was just one that had its moments, mainly like the opening scene, but just never clicked with me as much as other episodes. I mean, series is 9 seasons long, so if I'm just gonna get through it and watch my favorite episodes and ones that I really do love watching that I can just repeat watch over and over, ones that you don't get the same enjoyment from are gonna get skipped over. That said, like Fascinating Debra, watching this back for this review series, I was pleasantly surprised. I actually liked it a lot more than the last time I remember watching it. And I think the last time I watched it that I can remember is a decade ago now, when I was doing my last serious rewatch of it after I got season 9 on DVD and just went through all of it. I think that's also when it was still on Netflix too. As far as I know, it's not on there. It's probably on Hulu or some of the other sites right now. And this is definitely an instance like some of the other episodes where me watching this series through an older lens, it's like, alright, I get some of this. While I don't have children yet, so that aspect of it I can't speak from personal experience, having watched my niece and nephew grow older, seen some friends and family settle down and all that, and also having watched my younger brother at points in time, and of course having watched both of my grandparents babysit both me and other younger family members, I get some of this. So the family aspect easier, the babysitting aspect, it's just easy to kind of connect the dots a little bit more. So as an adult in my 30s, I enjoy it more than as someone in their late teens into early 20s. But that's one aspect of growing and maturing. And it also helps that this is another episode written by Lou Schneider. Captain Nemo, the car, Robert moves back, Hacky Doo, confronting the attacker, among others. A lot of those episodes are ones I really do love. Probably out of all of them, Hacky Doo is probably the one that spoke to me most as a kid, but that's because that one is centered around a card game. But the other ones I could still connect with. But the plot of this episode is that Debra, she feels so overworked. So much stress piling down on her, and the inciting incident is the kids acting up in the grocery store. I think anyone who has kids knows there's going to be times where they're going to act up in public. The thing that comes about is, how do you handle such a thing? Of course, there are the two extremes, which George Lopez himself even brought up. There's the one just you wait till you get home. Just you wait till you get home. And then the other one is you listen to here, Piper. I will not have you talk to me. Dakota, I'm talking to your sister. Of course, that's when you're dealing with it in the moment. Once you get home, and any punishments that are going to be dealt out are going to be dealt out, you're going to be like, oh. That sums up what Debra's feeling right now. And then Ray just waltz in, like we see him do constantly in this show, both from previous episodes and in future episodes, and is all nonchalant, even as Debra's explaining what happened. What happened was that the kids acting like brats in the store, and then they knock over a salsa display, and there's salsa going everywhere. Now, she probably does stretch the truth a little bit just for humor's sake. Mr. Barone, can you please get your children out of ethnic foods? I don't think they would say that over the intercom. That sounds like hyperbole. But the way that Debra is telling the story, the tone that Patricia Heaton uses for this speech, you can tell she's had it up to here. And then Ray is all nonchalant about it, when he's listening to it, he even asks after she explains that they had to leave with nothing. Did you go to the bank? And the look that Patricia Heaton gives them in character just sums up everything. It's like, really, Ray? You just hear this story about her tough day, and your first question is, did you go to the bank? An understanding partner would be like, oh, of course, in the days of cell phones, it would have been a thing where you'd be like, you should have sent me a text message, called me, I would have stopped and done the rest. I would have stopped and got stuff. But then again, that's what a appreciative partner would do. Ray, he's a dense partner in the vein of other famous sitcom dads such as Homer Simpson. So what is Debra's solution to this? Well, Ray inadvertently gives her the idea because he makes a offhand comment which ties into what I just said about him, about you need some real help around here. It's like, are you really gonna say something so dense, Ray? And then he tries to pull it off when he realizes, oh no, but I'm busy. I'm busy. It's called co-parenting, Ray. You should know that's one of your responsibilities. When you married Debra and you all decided to have children, that was one of your responsibilities. So don't pull that crap. I'm surprised she didn't yell at him. That would have been something that in the modern age, Debra would probably be online on Reddit posting under a fake name on the just no significant other thread, and people would probably be saying, divorce his ass. Well, instead of doing that or getting Ray to help more, she decides to hire a babysitter, which, given their financial situation, is an option, and it works. Kids are behaving, everything is good. Ray and Debra still have time to do stuff. But then the Marie bomb drops, and you can tell both Ray and Debra are like, oh crap, as they're trying to explain it to her. And Marie is her usual passive-aggressive self, like, oh, my phone must have been off because nobody called me in anything. And then even later, when she does get called in to do babysitting, she makes it seem like having a babysitter is something they need to apologize over. It's like, really, Marie? To quote Kevin Nash once again, it's not all about you. And that's not the main reason they end up getting rid of this babysitter, Lisa, who is played in this episode by Senta Moses Micken, whose other claim to fame is Phoebe on Beekman's World, but she also played one of the McAllister cousins in Home Alone. She was Tracy McAllister. There's so many McAllisters, it's hard to remember which is which other than Buzz. But then that's because that's Buzz. It was the most memorable dialogue out of all the side ones, other than, of course, Les Incompetents. And that's obviously not her. Well, why do they fire her? Or should I say, why does Debra fire her eventually when everything is going good? It's Marie's reaction, combined with the fact it looks like the kids are loving Lisa more than her. Like, really, Debra? You're jealous over the babysitter? Of course they're gonna like her in the short term more. One, she's new. Two, she's coming up with these fun games to play with them, partially due to her major involving children. And she's younger, so she can kind of get into their mindset a bit easier than someone older that does not have that type of training. Like, if Debra was a child psychologist, she'd probably be able to get into the kid's mindset like that. It's just Debra being jealous. She kind of has a habit sometimes as a character to get a little jealous like that. That's why I'd say that this is just my little hypothesis about the series, is that later on, whenever Michael and Jeffrey get married, I have a feeling that she's going to probably be just like how Marie was. Maybe not as bad, but in that same type of vein. And something like this is an indication of why. Well, Marie does hurt herself trying to play one of the games that Lisa taught the children, Alien. And it goes into the whole thing with Frank wanting to sue people to get money. He's like, not you. We sue your insurance and we split the money. It's one of those injuries where she has to get the little ice on the leg, which is like, ew, that's a bad fall. Considering her age group, it's surprising she didn't fall and hurt herself even more. Well, Ray decides, after talking with Debra, that they're going to go and get Lisa back. But since she was such an in-demand babysitter, and originally they scooped her up before the Parkers, they got to go try and steal her back from the Parkers, which doesn't go well. It's fun just to watch Ray be so pathetic and how he's trying to negotiate with Lisa. It's like, but I have school. Oh, who needs school? You don't need that. And nothing works, and then the Parkers show up, and this is the first time we actually see Bill Parker and his wife. And Bill Parker is, of course, played by David Hunt, who is Patricia Heaton's real-life husband, which goes into the humor. They don't do any in this episode, at least that I caught. But in some future episodes, whenever Bill Parker is brought up, they always mention, like, oh, Debra wishes she married him. Some meta tongue-in-cheek humor that references their real-life relationship. I believe there's even a moment between them that kind of does a joke like that, but I think that's in the later seasons, episodes I haven't really watched as much as a lot of these older ones. And of course, he gets pushed out, and this leads to something I actually forgot was in this episode, and that is Ray channeling his inner Brando and referencing the "Hey, Stella!" moment. Whenever you see compilations of Brando's best film moments. You know, people always like, could have been a Katanda, could have been somebody. You know, your grocery store clerk sent by the... Then, of course, there's Estella! I can't really do the scream with the accent that well. That's because of... But it's, instead of that, it's Lisa! With that nasal voice of Romano. Just the way that scene's lit with the Parkers having turned the light off. And Ray in the back face is back to the camera yelling, Lisa. Just a nice way. That would have been a nice way to end the episode, but then there's a coda involving Marie babysitting again. But that's a nice way to have Ray's plan thrown back in his face. But the thing is, with this one, most of the plan isn't really his fault, other than the fact that he's the catalyst for Lisa getting hired in the first place. It's old Debra deciding to fire Lisa instead of saying, you know what, today we don't need you. Oh well, live and let learn. And there's not really much else to say about this episode. It's fun, the central premise is simple, but it leads to both the comedy and the drama. Got enough for all the actors to do, even though Brad Garrett and Peter Ball, they only got a few funny moments here and there, but it's working off the other characters that they get to shine. Doris Roberts, not a lot to work with as Marie here, just enough with the central core of her character, but it is nice to see her get to interact with the kid actors, play the grandma card, even though it is a little sad from a character standpoint. She does hurt herself off screen, but for some of the other stuff she does throughout the show, it's like, yeah, that's a little calmer. Ray Romano, Patricia Heaton, they work off each other well, which that chemistry, I mean, it's been there since the start, but that chemistry is going to carry over into the next episode. Nice little segue here, because the next episode is going to be a Ray Debra marital issues episode. And even if you've never been married but have been in a relationship, this is going to be a subject that you're going to understand all too well, and that is pushing certain buttons in certain situations and not apologizing even if you don't think there is a need to apologize. That doesn't really come up a lot, but embarrassment does. And that, of course, is getting even.